Hello everyone, and welcome to this tutorial on how to do data analysis with the tool Epi2Me. So just to start, you'll hopefully remember seeing this slide in class that is currently being shared. You'll want to download the Epi2Me program using this link. And when you sign in, you want to use the following login. So you just change to sharing Epi2Me here. Okay, so here we're going to sign in. Maybe. Okay, let's try this. All right. So see here, I've got the email address, micro3455ubu@gmail.com. And our password is going to be seek. 55, capital N, lowercase a-n-o, apostrophe. All right. So here's Epi2Me. And where you're going to first want to look is here on the results. You'll notice there's these names. These are analyses that I've plugged your FASTQ files into for it to analyze for the 16S. If we go to this Excel spreadsheet that we worked on last week, I have since moved your sample names and everything into these different libraries. Okay, and so with moving them into the libraries, they're not going to be in the same order as they are for the different sections. And you'll see here that they're missing their barcodes and their Epi2Me folder. So you do not want to go to the different section tabs. You want to go to these different library tabs and look for your samples. So you can see here in this particular library, here's where we're starting with the numbers, those the barcodes that I've assigned to each of your samples in here. And then the Epi2Me folder is this one here. So let's take, for example, let's use this one. So this is barcode number 18. So we come over here to our folder. Now you'll see up here, there's details, reports, files. You want to select the files tab here and select this wf-16s.report.html. This is going to open up your internet. Come on. There we go. So it should pop open a tab on your browser. And you'll see the first thing we get is our read summary. This we don't really truly care about, but just to kind of show you everything at once. So here we're looking at barcode number 18. You can see the quality of the reads is around probably 8 or so. Yes, that's not bad. Ideally, we want to have it closer to 10, but you know, science isn't perfect. Then the read length. This is telling us how long the DNA strand was that it was picked up and read. And you'll notice that it has that read length in KB. Now with this particular barcoding kit, it does fragment the DNA, so we're seeing more than just ones that are at 1.5 KB, which is what our PCR product was, right? So we see a little bit of fragmentation here from that kit, but that's why there's the different lengths here. Then here we have number of reads, and this is going to be showing it for everyone. Now we're looking at barcode 18 specifically. Here, we've got it right here. So there was a total number of 113 reads. And of those reads, they were unable to classify 3 of them, meaning that there was a percentage of 2.65 of the reads that it was not able to match it to something in the NCBI database. So this is something that you'll want to include in your figure legend when you're talking about this, if each figure is how many reads there were and how many were unclassified, or that you could use either the numbers or the percentage. Either way is okay. Now say your barcode is way, way farther down the line, you'll see here there's different pages worth of them. See, I can go all the way to 90 here. So then we have, here's the lineages figure that you can make. This is where it has the little tree. Now we'll select barcode 18. Then we can select our rank. Now, it says you can go to the rank of species, but in actuality, it only takes you to the genus, which is unfortunately one of the downsides of this updated program, is that it does not actually get you to species. So for the most part, unless you have a lot of data, you'll want to select the species rank so you can see as much diversity as possible. Then we have our cutoff. This, you can go for anywhere between 0.5% of your reads to 3% or 5% of your reads. All that's doing is it's cutting out the lower percentage of reads that may not actually be real. So typically you want to select something between 0.5 and 1%. This is where you can kind of play around with it to see if changing it makes any difference, which the change too terribly much, other than when it goes to the 5% reads, it does get rid of any unclassified bacteria here. So maybe let's pick a different one. Let's use this unclassified and see, this will give a better show of that. So here with 5% reads in the unclassifieds, so we get this kind of nice little tree here. Whereas if we start to bump that back down, we see more species or genuses show up on the graph. And so about here, it gets to be a little bit overwhelming, right? So this would be a scenario where I would use something more like the 3% read cutoff to show things a little bit more nicely and hopefully be a little more accurate. And then it's up to you, though, to decide that and to include these kinds of parameters in your figure legend. Then alternatively, you can use, if you don't want to use this lineage graph, you can come and use the sunburst. So let's again go back to barcode 18, because that was the one we were starting with at first. So yeah, this one, yeah, most of it is made up of bacillus. So let's take a look and see like what the unclassified one looks like. See, that's a lot different, and it shows us a lot of different bacterial species. So you can either use the lineage chart or you can use the sunburst, but you do want to be able to fill in where some of these are so that we can understand, you know, oh, from here we can see, there's mainly Streptococcus and Staphylococcus, but there's a lot of other things in here as well. And so that is up to you as to what you want to talk about and what you want to highlight within your framework of your proposal. So this, as you get ready to do the final report later in the next few weeks, you'll want to be able to look through the data and say, okay, is what I got something that it would be typical in this line of research? Or, are there things like some of these smaller ones, are they actually, does it make sense that they would be in your sample? Why or why not? So that's going to be something you'll get asked as part of the final proposal. But for the sake of your presentation, just having either the sunburst and or the lineage tree here, you can do either one or both if you'd like. Now, how you get these into PowerPoint is a little bit more tedious. The lineage is especially so. This one, it does not have an option to, like the sunburst does, where if you look here, you can save this as an image. So the sunburst, you may be lean towards a little bit more because you can just immediately save it and download it as an image. Whereas the lineage, you'll need to zoom out far enough, and that's where these options come in. You can zoom in or zoom out or reset it, or you can download it. But sometimes the print, when you download it, gets to be very blurry. So if that happens, you can also zoom it out far enough that you should be able to take a screenshot of the figure here. So hopefully downloading it doesn't make things sloppy or messy, but then you can't read each of the different uh, genuses that are here. So just make sure that it's able to be blown up and read when you put it into your PowerPoint. Now, if you're wanting to compare your samples, which you'll do later in the final report, this taxonomy report is a very nice tool to use. So obviously we don't want to just look at the phylum, and so you want to adjust this to be at the genus level. You can see between a lot of these different samples, there's a lot of diversity between them. And so if we go back to looking at number 18, it looks like we have a little bit of unknown here in the orange, and then just other different ones versus, say, our companion barcode is 19. That's pretty different, where the majority of the next sample is Staphylococcus, whereas as we saw with like the sunburst, there were other things that were taking part in this other category. So this is something that you can reference to when you're asked that question for the final report. Again, you can come right here to download the figure, and then apply it to, you can show this in your presentation if you would like, but ultimately it won't matter until you get to the final proposal. At this point, everything else from here is a lot of statistical values, but for the purpose of this class, you don't have to worry about them. So this is how you go about analyzing your data using Epitome. If you have any questions, please feel free to discuss it with your instructor.